Welcome to Muscle Maintenance within Shape Fitness. I'm Coach Kim. Thank you so much for joining me for today's podcast. Your heart is a muscle that needs a dose of exercise every single day. Now, it doesn't need a boot camp every single day. It doesn't even need a 5K or even a run, heart-thumping, sweaty run on a treadmill every single day. But it does need stimulation every single day. And there are lots of ways to sneak it in without a trip to the gym. In fact, it's really imperative that you sneak it in between things like getting out of bed and having your first sip of coffee, or having your first sip of coffee and jumping in the shower, or maybe between having a bite to eat and getting dressed. Lots of different things. I don't even consider, 5 minutes of stimulating kind of movements, and I'm going to talk about what those are in a second, but I don't even consider getting dressed and, having a little bit of stimulating movement in my routine requirement for going back and getting ready again. Like, you don't have to shower afterwards necessarily. These are things that you can do without, kind of disrupting the rest of your regular life. And sustainable health is not about consumer-based workouts. Sustainable health is about living a life that includes the kinds of movements that your body thrives using, will thrive benefiting from, without that sort of mandated, calendar-anointed spot where you go to a workout, whether it's in the gym or maybe even outside if you're signing up or running a race or going to a yoga class or whatever it is. So today's exercises that we're going to talk about have to do with equipment free, always equipment free in our podcasts here at In Shape Fitness, and hopefully shoe free. I'm shoe free in my apartment in New York City. I don't wear shoes in my apartment, so whenever I'm exercising in my living room, it's with in bare feet. So you don't even need shoes on your feet, but you do need to take a couple of minutes to think about and incorporate these types of movements into your day. We're going to talk about multidimensional movement. A little bit of compound movement is another way to describe, where you're working with multiple body parts in multiple dimensions, and thus kind of confusing your equilibrium, and that helps boost your heart rate. And then the other sort of component of it is interacting with gravity, that amazing physical force that exists on our planet that we can utilize to our benefit when we want to get a little bit of heart rate boost without the treadmill or a bicycle machine or an actual bicycle. So stand up really tall and take a couple of deep breaths, and let's exercise your diaphragm a little bit and just open up your brain and relieve some stress through some deep breathing. So you want to start with a postural systems check, regardless of whatever you're doing, even multiple times during the day. I think in the podcast we did last week, one of the suggestions that I made is to set a little alarm at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, where you force yourself to it's not meditation, but it's just awareness, your ability to think about your posture, your breath, your body parts. Proprioception is your ability to sort of maintain and think about where your body is in space in relation to everything else around you. And so all that you want to do at this point is just think about the position of your head on top of your neck, obviously, and that is hopefully between your shoulders. If it's not, I know it's Halloween time, but if it's not, then we have serious issues. But in all, without the humor here, your ears and your shoulders should line up vertically. Now, we have this thing we do in our modern times that forces us, by not choice, but because of the lives that we live at our desks, where we're typing with our arms in front of us, looking at a screen, where we might be sitting in a car and driving, where we're trying to look out the window, the windshield, the neck kind of cranes forward, tilts the head, and extends it forward for a specific reason. And that is to get a better view of things, right? To get closer to things. And the problem with that is it alters your center of gravity. And this is true. It is really, really true, and it's significant in terms of your enjoyment, your comfort level in terms of your just regular sedentary existence. You pull on the back of your neck. You collapse the front of your neck. So think about the ability that you have to breathe in air. You want to breathe in, as a human being, you take oxygen into your bloodstream and it distributes down and out throughout your body via the bloodstream and cellular respiration. You want to efficiently get air into your body and then to exhale the carbon dioxide, the waste gases, out of your body. That's through a tube that goes down your throat. And that collapsing of that by virtue of this crane of your neck, looking down and looking forward, is affected by your head's position. Likewise, the pull of the muscles across the top part of your back and through your shoulders, up your neck. Guess what? Massage therapy is really big business these days, and a lot of it has to do with the stress and the amazing amount of tightness and the soft tissues, not just the muscles themselves, but the fascia, which is the sort of the kind of like the glove or sort of the rubbery substance that lines all of your muscles and connects the ligaments, the muscles, and all of the parts of your body underneath your skin. So all of that is really tightened by this sort of sedentary and off-balance head position that we have. Then your chest muscles are collapsed by your shoulders rounding forward, and you want to push those shoulders back. So your belly button now is pulled in tightly. Keep your brain focused on pulling in and up sort of through the belly button towards your spine. That helps keep your tummy muscles activated and keep your back straight. And of course, then if you're standing up and you're thinking about the position of your pelvis, the other thing about sitting down, we're going to talk about gravity and its effects on our posture in a bit. But the one thing about that pelvic tilt is that it pushes your butt out a little bit. And the effect of that, not to mention, once again, the off center of your gravity, which affects your balance, affects your ability to move. And for you to exercise, you have to be stable. One of the biggest concerns, I'm a marathon coach in New York City. I've been coaching the New York City Marathon largely to novice runners for 8 years. And the one major concern I almost always have with brand new runners, and most of the runners are, checking off a bucket list item. And marathon running is so great for that reason. It's a really hard effort, but it's so honorable. And oh my gosh, such a great feeling to do a marathon, to complete a marathon. And almost everyone can do it. But because our centers of gravity have become so malaligned, we have a really hard time balancing. And that's instability is a significant factor in crossing the finish line, if you will, even getting to the start line uninjured, if you will, for people that want to, kind of amp up, ratchet up the old activity level with a marathon. So your pelvis tilting forward, which sticks your butt out, is something that alters your center of gravity. The other thing that does, so you can tuck in your tailbone to feel the difference a little bit, is the butt sticking out also collapses or contracts rather the lower back muscles, pulls on the hip flexors, and once again, we find our bodies in this sort of strikingly painful, sort of not correct way of just regular life, not talking about exercise life. So one of the keys to exercise success in some ways is how your body performs when it's not exercising. And we are, I call myself now a fitness anthropologist in many ways, because so much of the real work that we do has to do with what people do when they're not working out. I've got my air quotes up, but of course you can't see me. The consumer-based workouts that you do are great and you got to do them, but it's the stuff that happens when you're not at the gym that can make a really big difference in either direction. So now, what we want to do, now that you've been standing, you're deeply breathing, we're talking today, it's muscle maintenance day, which means we're talking about a muscle. Today's muscle is the heart. And of course, I'm sure you've heard, if you don't know this sort of consciously, you've heard that the heart is a muscle. Now, what does that mean? That means that it's made up of the kinds of cells that are comprised within the muscular system, cardio-muscular system. And that means that your heart's ability to take in blood, oxygenate it through the lungs and that pathway through the lungs, and then push the oxygenated blood back out to the body is counts on your heart's muscular capabilities, your heart's actual physical capabilities. And heart disease, of course, as you know, is a really significant factor in the sort of overall health profile of any individual person. If you are not exercising your heart, you are prone to heart-related lifestyle issues. That can be anything from blood pressure, cholesterol level, and from sort of anatomical issues that can lead to heart attacks as you get older. Once we get into middle age, once you get past those prime time in your 20s and even really in your early to mid 30s, depending on what your lifestyle is like and what your body composition is, what demands you place on your heart, you may really need to think about ways that you can stimulate your heart in order to safely proceed through exercise experiences if you're trying to take better care of yourself as you get into middle age. Far too many people in our country, and I'm talking about the United States right now. I know other listeners listen in from other places, but in terms of the statistics in the United States, when we get older, we rely way too much on medications, on the pharmacological alternatives to stimulating the heart through blood pressure medicine, through cholesterol medicine, even over-the-counter stuff that you think that you might be taking and that will sort of give you a free pass from exercising your heart in an activity, a natural-based activity. But the truth of the matter is you do really need to work the heart in order for it to thrive as you get older. And it can. It's meant to last 100 years, your heart, right? So you should be able to do this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some things that will help you activate your heart without having to go to the gym. The very first thing that you can do, if you're a mom or a dad, or if you are, maybe even if you have a pet in your home, one of the things that is easiest is to get down on the floor and then to get back up off the floor. So getting down on the floor, normally people don't get down on the floor and then get back up very, quickly, unless they are picking something up that they've dropped, or if they're required to do so in an exercise routine. So you probably know where I'm going with this. There is an exercise, there are a couple of versions of the exercise and therefore a couple of names of it, but there is an exercise that demands that you get down on the floor and then you get back up. We call those burpees in boot camps. Not a word that people, or two words that people like to hear, but the fact of the matter is that when you lower your body, and this is a hip hinge, when you lower your body properly down to the floor and put your hands down on the floor, so you revert to the primal four-legged creature position for a mammal, and then you get back up into your human form, standing erect on two legs, you activate your heart rate. You boost your heart's requirements to get blood pumping out to all of your tissues. Why? Well, here's where gravity comes in. It's because you are acutely forcing your body to work against the gravitational force of the earth. And at a cellular level, that turns everything on. So let's just say, for the sake of, like kind of a way to think about the activation of your tissues. If and people think of the metabolic rate, like resting metabolic rate versus your exercising metabolic rate, that cardio and then like the aerobic and the anaerobic levels, really high sort of exercise routine sort of level. That's not what we're talking about here. The lower lower cardio, very sort of conversational rate of your heart rate. But an active heart rate is something that does benefit your metabolism, of course, but also your overall body's ability to do the job it needs to do at the cellular level, which means to keep blood and nutrients and fluids circulating throughout all of your tissues so that you don't get tired and tight and thus injured when you do want to move around, right? A lot of exercise people give up on because they're too tired to exercise or because they don't have time for exercise. But the thing about it is that if you keep moving throughout your day, sneak it in. And here I am telling you, if you think I'm crazy, invite me in. I will walk around your office and talk to you in front of your boss and say, boss, your employees need to stand up from their desks and do a couple of burpees. Put your hands down on the floor. Maybe you don't do burpees in complete form and do a bunch of them, but you do need to stand up and sit down multiple times every single hour. Bottom line, it is the easiest way to activate your heart rate. Now, multi-dimensional movement is typically something that you might associate with, martial arts or tumbling or tennis, maybe those kinds of activities, recreational activities that involve athletics, a sport. It's one of my favorite adult developed activities. I was not an athlete as a kid. In fact, I was that sort of geeky kid that did student government and like Model United Nations in high school. I was not an athlete. I didn't do any of those sorts of things. But as I got older and developed a sense for the demands that life has on the body and how health really needs to take a priority over some other, over other fun things you do. I mean, you can go and sit and have drinks with a friend sitting down on the couch, but you could also go for a jog together or go play tennis with a friend or go kick around a soccer ball, and then grab a coffee or a glass of wine after or whatever. And then you have that ability to move around and have fun, but the sports part adds into the overall health profile that you enjoy in your lifestyle. So, multi-dimensional activities that you can do in your office are limited. I get that, because we live in very monodimensional environments in our offices for the most part. There isn't a lot of manual lifting. You're not moving things around necessarily a lot. Most people don't anyway. Most people either sit in meetings or sit on airplanes or sit in, some sort of other vehicle other than an airplane, sit at a desk with a computer, and that basically is your life. And so when you get the opportunity to, this is going to sound crazy, but again, I might be a little crazy. When you get the opportunity to help clean something up physically, like clean up a space, move some furniture around to prepare for a meeting, to reorganize files and boxes and things, to decorate for a party. Those are multi-dimensional things that you can incorporate into your life. As far as not at work, these are other ways that you can do things at home. Same goes for home. To take an hour every day and do something physical in your home. Maybe not an hour at one time. Maybe it's 15 minutes in the morning, and then it's 15 or 20 minutes after work, and maybe a little bit more at bedtime or something. But those are the types of things that you can do in order to sort of sneak physical stuff into your daily life. Now, there is another exercise. I call it a burpee sandwich. And it's not really it's an exercise, sort of a compilation of exercises. And I use it as parts of dynamic warm-up routines for runners when we start inside and then go outside, where you start in your standing position and then you get down on the floor. And once you're on the floor in prone position, right, which is a push-up starting position, you can do a push-up. And then from the push-up position, turn one arm up into a side plank and pause there. And once you're there, lift up the top leg and bring your top arm elbow to the knee, squeezing your side abs. And then stretch back out to your side plank position. Then turn slowly back to the floor. Repeat on the other side, the side plank with the side crunch. Then go to downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, extend your body down into upward facing dog. I call that combination dynamic dog. So perform one dynamic dog. And then as you go back to your downward dog, you're going to lift up your left leg slightly, and you're going to bend the knee and bring the knee down and underneath the body across. This is the left knee. You're going to be across the right side of your body and kick the left foot out the right side of your body. And then extend it back and out and up into the downward facing dog position, then repeat on the other side. Do a couple of those. And then you're going to do another downward facing dog. You're going to finish with a push-up. Then you're going to walk your hands back to your feet. Finish in the full frog squatted position. And then stand up quickly and jump up high. And that is your burpee sandwich. With that, I'm going to let you go because I never try to go past the 20-minute mark for these podcasts, the Muscle Maintenance Podcast. We're a little past it today, but I will be back again next week with another episode of Muscle Maintenance. We'll focus on a different muscle next week. But remember, your heart is a muscle. It is a muscle that needs your maintenance, your tender, loving maintenance every single day. Do your best and let me know if you need some help. If you need me to come in and talk to your boss about the work that you need to do to your body in order to help you contribute more to your company, I'd be happy to do that. But seriously, if you have any questions, let us know. You can contact my team at bodybyInshape.com. I am around and can be happy to help you with your own questions. Have a great day.